Hey, Kurt Herzog back with some tips and tricks. These are techniques that I use when I'm working with Cal and Shan Inlay pen blanks.
The Fisherman's Inlay kit has 6 Bethlehem olive wood fish that are inlaid into the laser cut openings in the pen blank body. With the fish cut from a different species than the body, and the very fine detail cut into this kit, customers occasionally experience difficulties when pressing them into place. I can offer a couple of suggestions that should minimize any issues. In addition, the fine detail on the fish's fins and body, the mouth of the fish is detailed on both the pen blank body and the fish itself. When the mouth is cut on the fish, it is intentionally very fine to preserve that detail. Because of the fineness of the mouth, the cut doesn't always go completely through the fish body. This can leave a very thin thickness of the fish body on the back side. With the fish mouth feature on the pen blank body, any fish that didn't completely burn through at the mouth can present an assembly issue. The fish will be well burned from the front, yet have this very thin yet solid backing on the back side. This backing can cause an interference if the fish is simply put in place and pressed home. An untypical amount of force will be needed, and you'll create debris that will be trapped. Also, if you simply force the pieces into place, you will likely break away the inside of the mouth detail that is cut into the pen blank body. For the few pieces that didn't cut all the way through because of their thickness, I have a couple of methods that I use to open this area. I use string or dental floss to cut through the remaining material. You can also use a very fine blade, such as a scalpel. I find that throwaway dental floss tools work superbly, acting like a fine saw blade to abrade through the very thin, uncut layer of wood. With only a moment's effort, you can cut back to the end of the mouth opening of any of the olive wood fish. Without any dental floss, any sewing string stretched between your fingers will also do the job nicely. You can use a fine blade knife. While an X-Acto No. 5 blade and a handle will work, I favor a scalpel because it has a thinner, sharper blade. Only cut the thin material at the back. It is not necessary to widen the mouth. Place the fish on a hard surface to trim the uncut material away. Whichever blade you might use, do so with care. When you need to press parts in that may require a bit of force, the RTV silicone assembly dowel isn't the best choice. For the Fisherman's Inlay kit, I recommend using the brass tube. This will allow you to push more firmly than the RTV silicone assembly dowel. To make removal of the tube at the end of assembly, I wrap my brass tube in wax paper. I cut it slightly over the tube width to be able to tuck in the ends and long enough to wrap with an overlap. But don't wrap too much extra. Tuck in the ends and insert the brass tube into the blank. I find that the fish assemble much easier when I start with the mouth. I slide the mouth end in and under the mouth detail cut into the blank. Don't be afraid to slide it in and seat it well against the front end of the mouth before pressing in the fish as you work from the front to the back of the fish. Sometimes you'll split the body of the blank. Don't worry, that split will mend nicely. I just wrap some extra rubber bands around it. I'll squeeze it later when I glue things up permanently. Once all the fish have been inserted and seated against the brass tube, tack the fish in place. Rather than flood everything, making it difficult to remove the brass tube, I use medium CA to tack the fish into place. With the fish tacked in place, I slide the brass tube out of the body. You can use your own method to bond the brass tube in the body. The method I use ensures that there is a good adhesive bond between the blank and all the components to the brass tube. I use 5-minute epoxy. An adequate quantity is mixed and spread around the entire inside of the blank using a kebab skewer. Even though the inside of the body is coated, I apply epoxy to the outside of the brass tube. The tube is inserted with a twisting motion to a position spacing the inlay fish properly. After curing, I flood the outer surface components with CA to fill any gaps between the components and the cutout in the blank. For more information on this, review the earlier tips and tricks videos on gluing in the tube. Thank you for watching our latest video in the Tips and Tricks series for laser cut inlay kits. Be certain to check back for our latest additions to the Tips and Tricks series.